Sveiki gyvi knygų mėgėjai. Šiandien kviečiame jūs į susitikimą su rašytoja iš šalies, kurios literatūra daugeliui mūsų yra dar pakankamai nežinoma. Taigi šiandien nusikelsime į Sakartvelą ir pakalbėsime apie išties vieną labiausiai aptariamų šių laikų šios šalies rašytojų, Naną Ekvtimišvili. Lietuvių skaitytojai su jos kūryba gali susipažinti kartu su pasirodančia lietuvių kalba knygų Kriaušių laukas, ir kurią šią knygą išleido lietuvių kalba leidykla Alba, o į lietuvių kalbą Kriaušių lauką vertė Kotryna Garanašvili. Nana Ekvtimišvili yra ne tik rašytoja, bet ir režisierė. Už savo kino juostas yra pelniusi gausybę apdovanojimų, jos kūrybą didžiuosiuose ekranuose yra matę ir lietuvių žiūrovai, tačiau šįkart mes daugiausia kalbėsime, žinoma, apie jos literatūrą. Jos pirmasis romanas Kriaušių laukas pasirodė 2015 metais, pelnė prestižinį Sakartvelo literatūros apdovanojimą Sabo, o dabar savo gyvenimą ši knyga gyvena ir vakaruose, nes pasirodė vertimas į anglų kalbą ir jis buvo beje įtrauktas į tarptautinę Bukerio premijos ilgąjį sąrašą. Knyga pasakoja apie Tbilisyje veikusią internatinę mokyklą vaikams su psichinė negalia, ir tai yra ir skaudi ten gyvenusių vaikų istorija, kartu ir to laiko Tbilisio, kartu ir visos šalies paveikslas. Apie šią knygą ir apie tai, kaip gimė šis kūrinys, mes ir pasikalbėsime su pačia autorė. Maybe you could tell a little bit about the background of this story, because as I understand, you wrote that story based on your own experiences. And maybe you could tell a little bit more about that, about these experiences which you influenced with that book.
Yeah, I grew up in Georgia, in capital city Tbilisi, in a suburb of Tbilisi, in outskirts of Tbilisi, the area called Gldani. And actually this orphanage was also in Gldani, as this residential school. And I grew up next to the school, so our house was next to the school, and we had one fence, and I saw all my childhood along children from the school, and many of them I knew very well. But at the time it was just something what I did not realize, that, for example, violence I saw every day towards these children, physically or just violence and put in language, what I experienced. It was normal, and in 90s, in each corner, everywhere, we experienced kind of violence. And many years later, when we went to other place to live, or when I left Georgia and went to Germany, I realized that this memories, it has no really good space in my inner world, this memories, and I need to put it somewhere in some book or somewhere where I could collect them and give them a shape. Of course, it's a fictional book, and they are fictional characters, but I could somehow give my memory space in this book. And when I remember when I went back to Georgia, in Tbilisi, I saw these children again, and they were adult men and women, and I saw some of them on the street begging. And I realized that it is a few years ago I was in an outside in courtyard or somewhere with them and playing with them, and somehow we had the same childhood, geographically at least. And it was very difficult to see these children in this situation, and that these children has no voice. And maybe I was the only person who remembers, or they were talking to me at the times, and they were telling me stories about themselves, and they have no families, no relatives, no one who just can hear the stories and remember what they have to tell other people. And this was also the point. I said, okay, maybe I write a book, maybe I write a story, and try not to forget what I know about them. Yeah,
but you said that you saw that violence in the near a school, and you thought that it was quite normal. Doesn't shock you right now about this understanding, but it was normal to see that violence, physical or mental violence?
Yeah, this is absolutely shocking. But at the time also I knew that it is not a good thing what happens with them. And but I was a child, I was a teenager. I at the time I also tried to make a documentary about them with my sister and two other friends of mine. And from my school, we took our teacher, cameraman, who came with a camera and helped us to interview these children. And at the end, we did not finish this movie, as I remember, because it was I was absolutely not prepared for this information what I got from these children. And also the reason why should exist this movie, and who want to see this movie. It was absolutely not clear, because people were were not interested. Society, it is this place was kind of forgotten place. It was so many other problems in normal world, in schools and at the street, war problems in the 90s, surviving problems. And it was very unpopular to point to the school and to tell people, here you have to see what happens here. And yeah, many years later I realized that this is something what I should where I should see once again and write a book about.
And do you think what all the things which you saw at this school were typical, not only for your country but also for other places in the Soviet Union and in post-Soviet Union, or do you think it was quite different in your country?
I think it's quite similar. It's not only history of Georgia. It's also history of Soviet Union, I think, and it's a history about one girl or one child in this system. And I remember when I read the book, maybe you know already, also in it's the author called Ruben González Gallego. His origin is from Spain, but he raised in Russia, in Moscow, in an orphanage. and he was born with with physical disabilities, and he wrote, I think, a brilliant book, Black on White, it called, and he reports, he tells story from inside the orphanage about himself, about his story, his friends, teachers and educators who are in this orphanage, and a real shock came when I really read this book, because okay, I was a neighbor, and my neighbor, and my perspective is kind of not really from inside. I was not a child who raised in the school. I was neighbor. I was from kind of normal home, and I had parents, and I had school, and kind of privileged, but they don't have. And it is absolutely shocking to read a story from someone who really experienced this kind of violence, and who and I think there are not many books and not many authors who really broke up from inside of this kind of institutions, and gives us a gaze from inside.
Yeah, you're right in your book what actually the people who come from the school to normal life are like heroes. You call them heroes because it's just kind of a miracle for people from this school just to come to normal life, because usually they end in the streets or disappear or and somewhere else.
Yeah.
And do you think what the system has changed during since that time in Sakartvelo, or is just a little bit quite like you described in that book?
I would say it changed a lot. It changed a lot. That matters. That, for example, the language we use toward people with disabilities, it's not so not like it was before. People are aware what they are saying, and how they react on people, or on workplace, or in public spaces, or how the architecture and surroundings are is adapted for this people. But I read some times ago a report from Georgian ombudsman, what kind of situation we have now in public orphanages and in Georgia. And of course, the problems we have in country affects very much on these orphanages. For example, educational problems or personal. So we have not, they have not enough teachers there. And it's also qualification, what kind of qualifications they have, and what kind of knowledge they have, pedagogical aspects, or it's still problem to identify violence in such institutions. Is this violence, or what is violence physically, it's or mentally? And during the pandemic, of course, a lot of challenges, medical problems also they have, because in Georgia, in a country, there are in the health system a lot of problems, and educational systems a lot of problems, and this affects, of course, pretty directly to those schools and residential schools, orphanages. Yeah, but if we compare it, the situation with 90s, it changed a lot. And the thing that there are people who look at the situation, ombudsman who was writing report, NGOs, journalists who cares and asking questions. It is everything new in comparison to 90s and old times. Yeah.
And, reading this book is, for me, it was quite hard emotionally, because there are so many dirty scenes and upsetting scenes. And what is the most difficult scenes for you to write this book? Because, for example, all these rape scenes are, I cannot imagine how did you write it, and what emotions did it cost you. So what was the most difficult for you to write?
Maybe most difficult thing to write was sexual violence, because I know that this is very difficult to see, and to force the readers read these episodes with sexual violence. It's not really easy for me, but I think it's also part of this world, and I did not want to leave it apart and to make something easier for readers, because this is a book not an easy read for readers, and I did not want it to make it extra soft or I knew that if I want to describe this world, if I want to really talk about my characters and character of Lela, and give them real space in this book, so I need to be fair, and I need to talk about the things what is not pleasant. Yeah,
and you talk about sexual violence, and it seems, reading your book, that it was quite common in these schools, and of course you have read many reports and analysis. So was it really so common in these schools, with sexual violence?
I can imagine that it was quite common, but because I heard stories in this orphanage, not from one side, not from one child. It was stories from outside. It was what I was hearing, or about teachers there, between children. Things happened, many bad things happened, and it's a time I had a feeling that it does not matter what these children is talking about. Nobody believes, because they are kind of children with disabilities, and they are kind of crazy people, and it doesn't matter what they are talking about. It's nobody would believe it, and but I can imagine if I, as a child, was kind of got to hear this kind of stories, there were much more things. They happened, much more cruel and brutal things, and we can't even imagine. And also in other orphanages. And sometimes I think that maybe it's really soft what I wrote, and there are much more things, but even it's not to, even I can't imagine. but it's a fiction. It's about an idea. It's anyway. We cannot truly report the reality as it is. But if it's possible to transport the feeling of one character and one protagonist, I think it's still gives us chance to imagine how the whole picture is, or was, how the whole picture was. Yeah.
And you chose pear as a fruit as a metaphor for this novel, and why namely it, and what does it represent for you in this novel?
Actually, when I wrote the scene in the pear field, it was done quite naturalistic way, and I remember till now where this pear field was and how this pear field, pear trees was, and but after writing, I realized that maybe it could be kind of metaphor for children. This peers who nobody cares if they fall or not, if they became yeah, if they are standing in water or not, if they have enough sun or not, and it's kind of could be metaphor of for these children. Yeah.
Do you think that you have left a blink of hope in your book? Because I don't want to spoil that book, because there are some moments of hope as in this book, I think, but actually it seems that all the people in this book, not only people who live in this school, but all the people in the surrounding houses as well, in the streets, they are not happy. There is no happiness at all in this book. It seems like, you know, very gloom place and very dark place, and it's dark place not only for these children, but also the place, dark place for all the people. So it seems like the place without hope is just like a doomed country. It's like that feeling comes to my mind when I read this book.
I don't know. I'm not sure if it's just dark and hopeless. I think it's a quite. So, for example, I choose present for the storytelling. It happens now. It's the story is going in the presence, and I think this describes also the sense of children, how children are. They are very much in the present, and they are not really able to reflect things, what happened in past or what could happen in future. And this presence is really very important for children, because they protect themselves. If they start to reflect what happened yesterday or in the past, they could not be able to survive. So this kind of childhood present thing, it's very strong, and this presence of children has in it a lot of joy also. They are children, okay, they have trouble and problems, and they have no parents, but they have each other. And I think this book is also very much about love and about friendship. And although they don't have really mentors or examples or kind of role models who are giving some good examples, they have each other, and this is only they have in their life. And I don't know how, but these children are still, and my characters still able to give them some love and some good emotions and hope. I don't know what the future is, and future is really unknown, and maybe also dark when you once a child experience things like this violence, sexual violence, physical violence, when they're once abandoned. We know it's very, very difficult to come out of this story and to create something new out of life, because you don't have even skills to, maybe you have skills to survive in your way, and maybe this is a kind of criminal or kind of violence, ways of violence. But still, I think in each child is some kind of light, and I wanted to show that even in these cases when nothing good happens in life of these children, there is some light what has no logic, has no logical source, but there is something what could be some light and something what is not given them but they own.
Yeah, and I think one thing which is very important, which you said right now, it is about love, and saying what all these children they don't have examples of love, they don't know what is love, and it reminds me a little bit of, I don't know if you know this Mexican excellent writer Fernanda Melchor and her novel Hurricane Season. And when I was talking to her, she said the same thing. What is the main problem, and the saddest thing is that all these children in her book as well, they don't know what is love and how to express love and how to find love. And in your book, these moments were also one of her saddest, when this girl just comes to this boy to the car, and she thinks that it is love, but it is not love, and so it's very sad moments for me.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Also the moments where where the main character just try to decide something or try to achieve something, and she's doing this with violence. But this is her expression of love. This is how she would express her love toward her friend. And
yeah, but I think this book also is about escape and about the impossibility of escape. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree. Of course I agree, because what you experience as a child, it's always with you, and this always decides how you will go through the life. Of course, you can do a lot of work, and you can win, and you can be a winner, and you can put your past somewhere, and you can say, okay, it was my past, and now I can decide. Someone else decided for my childhood, and now I can decide. And this was absolutely the author from Ruben Gonzalez Gallego, who said, this was my childhood, and it's absolutely shocking childhood. And he became a writer. He is award-winning writer. He became father. He is well educated and clever man and author. And of course, this gives me or other people kind of hopes that this is kind of theoretically chance to escape, but who can do this? For sure, there are many children who can't do this, and their future is already kind of decided. Yeah, literature is all about also about theoretical chances. It's not about a statistic, yeah, but it's about idea of surviving. And I think this kind of idea could be found there in my book, or maybe not there, but in me, because I believe that people, whatever happens, could be stay alive mentally and go forward. Yeah.
And I wanted to ask one just practical question about your writing habits and about your editing habits, because this book is about 150 pages or something kind of that. It's quite short, but do you edit a lot? And was it, a big manuscript which you edited and just put in it that what it later became a bad book, or how do you work on that book?
I think not very much. I think it was structured from the beginning, like in 9 or 10 captures, and maybe I cut something, I throw something away. Maybe characters, 1 or 2 children, or maybe more, which and I wrote something from my memories, and I saw it's not really, it's kind of repeated things. So this kind of character maybe I have already, and it's not about to tell really, yeah, to put each memories and just make some joint characters, and not to confuse readers. But sure, if this would be a documentary prose or documentary kind of non-fictional book, it would be different. But the idea would be the idea, and the starting point would be same. So to catch the memories and not let them go, and not to forget that this was kind of part of my childhood also. And I was somehow happy that my mother let me play with these children and invite them in my home, or to talk with them, because in my neighborhood was, some of parents were kind of afraid to let their children go with them, because you never really know, since your child is behind the fence what happened there. And yeah, I think this is very important memories of my childhood. And also my mother was talking to these children, and she was also, she did not want me and my sister to protect from this world. She always were telling us stories about, I don't know, about many difficult things what happened in our surrounding. Yeah, and I think this made me what I am now. Yeah.
You right now talk about your memories, and it's very interesting what you write now. In this book, you write about 90s, and in Lithuania, we see in recent years the trend of literature about this period as well. And what's your opinion? What namely now? And you write about 90s, many writers in Lithuania write about 90s. Do you think that we needed just a long period to understand traumas of that time, to understand what this period means to us? Just to start writing right now, not about 10 years ago, not 15 years ago, but just now.
Yeah, for sure. It's we need time to reflect things and to have kind of distance to things that happened. And also my generation, maybe, who are now dealing in their art or writing with 90s, they needed somehow time to, first of all, to survive physically from 90s, because I feel this kind of, I have, till now, I have somehow feelings that, wow, I survived. So in every time, there are moments in my life where I should think, this is my life has continued, and I'm alive, and the 90s it was past, and I'm I'm all the time kind of checking, okay, this is a past, and now it's now, and I survived. And this kind of physical surviving is very present by me. And after some period started, it was a time to start mental surviving. And if you want to survive mentally, so you should talk about, you should write stories you experience or other people experience. So for me, and I'm sure Lithuanian authors or Georgian authors who experience the same, that this kind of difficult political and social period in their countries, they are not trying to find some dramas, and they are not trying to, and I belong to those authors too. It's, for me, it's not about a drama, it's not about a kind of thrill and kind of using of this time for kind of tension in my books or in my films. It's just about me. It's just about my feelings, and I'm kind of captured in, and I can't be tired about about talking or writing about 90s. It won't end. I think it is never-ending stories. It is because it's, for me, it's, I raised in 90s, and I made my decisions in 90s. I'm talking about decisions to stay as human being, not to become like others, to think about principles, to become really angry, but to be able not respond in the same way. And this kind of things happened with me. And yeah, that's why 90s now and 90s forever.
And you had an opportunity to go to Germany at that time. And I think in one of your interviews, you said that it changed your mind and it changed your way of looking to your country and what happens in your country. And do you think it was one of that crucial moments in your life?
Absolutely. So I think being in Germany did not separate me from my identity. It brought me to my identity somehow in a very conscious way. So I started to realize things, but not romanticize things. I tried to criticize things, but not started to hating things. It helped me very much to understand myself, to understand my country, and actually to find also very good and positive things in my country and in my culture, where I maybe could not find when I would just stay there. And yeah, and of course I see, for example, my family and my nearest persons and my friends, how they continue life in Georgia since I left. I took my memories with me, kind of in a hermit, I don't know the right word, but in kind of some kind of closed box with me, without any reaction with word. And other people stayed in Georgia with same memories, and a lot of things happened with them. And one thing after another happened. And they should forget some things in order to be able to receive a new impressions, new difficulties in Georgia, because till now we have very difficult social life in Georgia. And my memories are somehow separated from all the other things came after in Georgia. And this is maybe the difference. Yeah.
Yeah, you're talking about nowadays and your country, and how do you feel, in what direction it is going? Because I also read one of your interviews, and you said what you see a setback to the period of the Soviet Union. Does it really happen right now at your country? And how do you explain that?
Yeah, I think Georgian government now is at least unclear, but I would say government is pro-Russian, and I feel really ashamed that, for example, they have no clear voice toward Ukraine, and they don't express their thought toward this situation between Russia and Ukraine really clearly, and they are not able to say that with Ukraine is happening now what happened with Georgia and what happens every day till now in Georgia. I mean, occupation Russian occupation, day by day, this kind of moving border towards Georgia every day. Yeah, and I mean, your country has same past as Georgia with Soviet Union. It was, as I remember, the first country who declared independence in 1990, the first country in a Soviet countries. And yeah, and Georgia did it 1 year later, but till now, Georgia's declaration about independence is not accepted by Russian politics. And yeah, I want to be really optimistic and say, yeah, it's yeah, Georgia survived a lot of difficult years and centuries and periods, and now it will be also like this. But we are standing in front of a big war, and we see what happened in Ukraine and in Crimea and in South Ossetia and Abkhazia. Yeah, I don't know. It's really difficult for me to make some prognosis what will happen. But one thing I know, it's absolute unaccepted that what happens now, and how Russia is acting against neighbors. And yeah, there are no small and no big neighbors, and it's absolutely we cannot accept that yeah, we are treated like a small neighbor, even not neighbor, small province, small Russian province, because they are not big and no small neighbors. Every country has their dignity and their history and their culture and their people, and yeah, I hope that Russian politics will one day fail, and they will understand that in modern world we don't need this kind of authoritarian regimes and politics, and we need a new free world where people and countries accept each other despite of own political and own economical interests. And yeah, I hope I will able to experience this in future. Yeah.
And by the way, I wanted to ask you, because do you call a country Georgia or Sakartvelo? Because usually some people abroad call Sakartvelo, and how do you call it?
So in English, I'm used to say it Georgia, and in German, Georgian. But we say Sakartvelo. Yeah. And it's nice to hear you said also Sakartvelo instead of Georgia, and it's a very new, unusual, but very, very nice to hear this. Yeah.
And by the way, about Lithuania and Sakartvelo, because I don't know, do you have friends from Lithuania? But traditionally, Lithuanian people considered Sakartvelo as one of their friendliest countries, and even football fans during Soviet times supported Dynamo Tbilisi, and we were friends. And how do you explain that ties, and do you have some relations with Lithuania?
Yeah, my big relations is now with my book. It's absolutely amazing that my book is translated into Lithuanian language, and yeah, for sure, I was in our films went to festivals and to Lithuanian screens, and yeah, I have also some friends there. Yeah.
And by the way, about talking about translations, your book was longlisted for International Booker Prize, and I think you now got many responses from other countries about your book and how they take this book. And do you see the differences how people from other countries take this book, how they perceive that book? How do you see the themes and the social reality and described in that book? Do you see how different, for example, people in Sakartvelo and, for example, I don't know, in Great Britain?
Yeah, for me it was absolutely unexpected that my book is now translated into almost, I think, 14 languages worldwide. And of course, International Booker Prize pushed it also a lot, that people started to some kind of interest erased, and also international publisher approached the book, and but still it is not really something usual, because there are so many award-winning authors and so many interesting books and great authors, and it is yeah, it's really great for me and for my book and for Georgia also, that Georgian book written in Georgian language reaches other countries. And in my country, I can say that a book had quite a good attention. Critics or literary awards, or I got also personally a lot of feedback from readers. But actually, I can say that that in Georgia, for example, books in Georgia has not so many space as, for example, in Europe or in countries where the social life is not very not so difficult. People are more open to read difficult stories, dark stories, to show their interest about some kind of difficult social life. But in Georgia, the social life and everyday life is so difficult that the book has, and this kind of books, they have their space, but the space is really small, because it happens so many things in Georgia every day, through television, through social media. You go out of the street and you see things what express you maybe more than books you ever read, and at the moment I don't see that books have so much power in and affect on everyday lives in Georgia. But the good thing is that books have longer life, and they exist, and good books can't be old, and you can always grab, and you can always find your friend in a book. And I hope that also in Georgia, the reality, what we have now, this kind of difficult social and political reality, we can capture in books, and one day it can become a history, kind of history we could find in books. And otherwise, the life could be more easier and happier, because Georgian people are quite people who can enjoy the life, and I think they would have more and more reasons to be happy, and to enjoy their life.